Hey, what's up, Foxy people? Yeah, this is something new that I'm going to be trying out. It was originally going to be like a podcast idea. It still might turn into like a podcast idea, but a lot of times uh, I'm watching media or I'm reading something and I have a lot of thoughts about it, and I want to get used to expressing them like right on the spot in real time as they go along instead of just making a script all the time, especially when it comes to things, because sometimes things just happen and it's just really apt to the situation. But when you wait a while, sometimes you wait a little, when you wait, when you want to put everything that you want to say into a script, sometimes the moment kind of fades away. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I just want to get more used to talking off the cuff and live and giving folks my thoughts in real time. So that's what this is, Reynard Rhapsody. So this will be episode one. Um, I've been watching. I just started watching The Handmaid's Tale. Part of me isn't sure why. I really don't go out of my way to watch things that are so torturous, but at the same time, I kind of feel like in the with things going on right now, with how the social climate is, all the conservative backlash we've been seeing to progressive movement in recent, and because I am still working on I'm scripting the video for my sex positivity primer. I'm making a sex positivity 101, a 101, excuse me, sex positivity 101 primer for for laymen. And I want to make that primer. I'm making that primer before I make the video for this week, which is going to be about why sex positivity is needed in spaces like the fighting game community. So, but in doing all the research for the primer and for the video, and also because I'm subscribed to the Take on YouTube, and they had recently put out, I think they recently I put out a video about The Handmaid's Tale. So I was just watching it. It came up on my regular, on my home screen. It came on my home screen. It came up on my regular YouTube feed. And so, I had like maybe 15 to 25 minutes to kill. So I was like, okay, sure, why don't I check this out? So, and of course, like all the video essays on the Take, it was very informative and interesting. So it piqued my interest about the TV series, The Handmaid's Tale. So I'm about 5 or 6 episodes in. I'm on the episode of the first season called A Woman's Place, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, yeah, A Woman's Place. I paused it just to be sure. So, and from what I've gathered and from what I've been seeing so far, it really gives the backstory of the commander and Mrs. Waterford, right? It gives a lot of backstory of their lives and her, basically her life before the land of Gilead came to be. And it's it's never surprising but funny. It's funny to me how Mrs. Waterford was gangbusters when it came to taking part in this grand undertaking of basically usurping the U.S. government from the land. Plotting the destruction and assassination of multiple people. You know, basic mass murder on a grand scale, enabled to turn the country into a into a version of America that used to be like on steroids, or how they want it to be, how they wish things would and could be in their own minds. It's kind of scary for me to watch this series because yes, it's fantasy, but at the same time, these art imitates life. And even when I watched the video on the take, the writers on the show said that the things that the things that happen as the story progresses are based on things that happen in real life. And they're right, like these things, these mass killings of people because of their religion, or because they enabled women to have abortion, or because they were gay, like persecution, disenfranchisement, and genocide of people who don't fit who don't fit into the right specific prescriptors and labels. This shit is still happening. Even in the United States, it's happening as we speak down at the Mexican border, of course. So, but what's funny to me, what stands out the most to me, is that I'm not sure if in this episode we're supposed to sympathize with Commander Waterford's wife in the things that she currently, goes through in Gilead, because whatever she is suffering is of her own making. She and the man who she and her husband were part of the conspirator party that turned the United States into Gilead. You knew what you were signing up for. She knew what she was signing up for when she decided to become a part of basically this treasonous idea, but yet she you can see how she feels some sort of way when she's left out of important discussions and important decisions and meetings, and agendas being set by the men. She feels a certain way about being left out of those, especially because, like I said, she and Waterford are co-conspirators. They've always functioned as partners. And now she's not so much a partner. She's just a symbol of something that's supposed to, she's basically, she basically functions as little more than an NPC in the world that she so wanted to come to pass. And it's weird to see her, and probably all the other wives who are just like her, to become frustrated and upset with the things that they go through, with the things that they suffer, because again, it's a suffering of their own making. And what is even the most funny to me, and what the area and where I have such little sympathy, like it's like these women who wanted this ultra puritanical patriarchal society to come to fruition really thought that they would be exempt from the ideology and the dictates that would come with it. And then they find out that they're not, and now they're stuck in this hell that they've helped to create. And the only thing that gives them satisfaction or some sort of reason to continue with the way things are is because at least they're not handmaidens or forced to work in the colonies. Even in this, even in, you know, in a world where the hierarchies are so much more defined and so much more unethical and oppressive, they still have a measure of power. And that power they still have a measure of power and privilege that comes with the position of being the wives. So they'll continue to put themselves through whatever internal strife and suffering in the dark, because nobody treats them as human beings anymore. Now they're this, you know, more or less this, the Madonna NPC, and the handmaidens are the whore NPC. Madonna whore purity complex. It and it just it rem, and it's just so apt in real life, because it's like, it just reminds me of whenever I see women and girls help to perpetuate patriarchal societal systems of belief. And it's like, you really think that the people that you are basically, putting yourself out there to defend and affirm and validate, you really think that they look at you differently because you go along with the status quo? You really think that you are so separate and set apart from the women that are demeaned and disenfranchised and dehumanized by the status quo? You really think that these patriarchal men that you see fit to, again, to defend and validate and, affirm and, put up on a pedestal, you really think that in a blink of an eye they wouldn't do the same thing to you? Y'all are just a hop, skip, and a jump away from being called whores yourselves, you know? But you're willing to go along with it because, you may not have much power and privilege, but you do have a slither of it over the ones who are deemed the most deplorable. So, and I guess you sort of find that dynamic in everything. You find it in race struggle, you find it in gender struggle, you find it in class struggle. It's everywhere, and that's really just that's really what comes when the world that you live in is predicated upon a system of hierarchies that that validate one specific type above all other types that are deemed inferior. So, like you find it within race struggle, like I said, like like black folks who have internalized the white inherent superiority, black inherent inferiority binary. To black folks who have internalized anti-blackness, because it's taught to everyone, it's taught to all of us. It's ingrained, it's the fulcrum of the society in the states. So you see it with those types of black folks who internalized anti-blackness that they don't deconstruct. And so you'll see it in their actions when it's like, yes, yes, I'm black, but at least I'm not like those ghetto ratchet niggas over there. On some real Uncle Ruckus shit. And this is pretty much the same thing in this episode, A Woman's Place. Uh, and the funny thing is that she wrote a book about domestic feminism prior prior to the treasonous coup that turned the United States into Gilead. That's funny. And it just reminds me of the ideological difference between white women and black women. Fucking white, middle class, upper class women who think that working and like even so much as like domestic work, they thought that shit was freedom. Meanwhile, the rest of us were like, bitch, no, that shit is not freedom. On top of all the other microaggressions that we have to go through, which more likely than not come from y'all. So it's always funny and interesting to see a patriarchal patty for all intents and purposes. To see patriarchal patties become surprised when they are relegated to NPCs with a slither of power and privileges, but they find out that that they're not their husband's equals anymore. They're not their partners. Like even at the scene where she's waiting to be heard by the council and whatnot, and Waterford comes out and he's like, they won't allow you to do this. I'm going to keep trying to convince them to do this and that. She's like, oh, it's okay. We can't afford to fight amongst ourselves, and we have to show ourselves as being unified and blah blah blah. And then she leaves. He waits until she leaves, and then the other guy comes out, and he just he turns all of that. He turns the sympathy bullshit off, and he shows his true colors with the and Waterford shows his true colors with the other white man that's there. So, and it's like girls, there is nothing. There is hardly anything. The ground that you think separates you from all the deplorable women, from all the sluts and hoes and whores and all of that. Um, that shaky ground, sis. Matter of fact, it's quicksand. So yeah, it's very interesting. I This show definitely has its issues. I'm really not feeling all the rape that I'm seeing. I'm not feeling all the lynchings that I'm seeing. It's just, it's very, the series is good. I do like it. It's very good, but it's very awful. Seriously. I'm probably gonna have to watch something that's really, really funny or porn after watching this. I'm gonna have to watch something that brings my spirit up or really makes me laugh after watching a few of these, because I can't, and I can't binge through the entire thing. Like I can't. I watched about maybe 3 or 4 episodes when first started it, like the other day. And yeah, I can only take this a few episodes at a time, because it's like I said, it's wonderful. It's good, but it's terrible because again, all the crazy, all the things that are just going on. So, but yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a little sound off on my thoughts on this episode specifically, and to and just let it be known to all the patriarchal patties out there. Um, the ground that you women are standing on, that you think puts you above the rest of us, us sinful black feminist women, and all the whores and the hoes and the sluts and all the other women who uh, who see the status quo for what it really is, bullshit. Um, y'all not better than us, sis. And about it's been way past time that y'all start realizing that. But anyway, um, For the two people who tuned in, thanks for tuning in. Maybe I'll do this again. I may have to get better at announcing it so that more folks tune in. So, yeah, I'm going to finish off this episode and then I'm going to have some more apple cider muffins because, yeah, sometimes I like to eat my feelings. Have a good night.